Hello, welcome back to my channel. In December of 2019, I asked you guys what your most disappointing book was. Not necessarily the worst book that you read in 2019, but just the book that you were looking forward to that let you down the most. So I tweeted it out and I got an unexpected amount of replies. So with this information, I decided I was going to read all of your most disappointing books of 2019 and I was going to pick the ones that had the most votes. So that is what we are doing in this vlog. I've picked 6 books from this list, 6 books that you guys said really let you down, and that's what we're going to be reading. So let me tell you guys those books. The 2 most disappointing books, hands down, were Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid and Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Unfortunately, I will not be reading those books in this video, primarily because I'm going to be reading those for taste test videos coming up in the next couple of months. Next highest rated book, or most disappointing book for you guys, was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This one got 9 votes, and this is a book that I am interested in reading. I'm sort of tentative because I like the things that I've been hearing about it, that it is primarily a romance-heavy fantasy, but I've heard that the romance kind of sucks. That's been kind of the sounding or resounding answer that I've been hearing from people, so this is definitely one that I'm excited to read. I'm gonna be sad if it's one of my most disappointing books in this video, but anyway, this is one of the highest rated most disappointing books, or the most of the most disappointing. Coming in with the next most amount of votes, 7 votes to be exact, was the book that actually inspired this tweet in the first place, and it is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This book is a female Lord of the Flies, if that makes sense. I mean, I don't think the whole story is a female romance, but it is a Lord of the Flies body horror kind of almost dystopian book from what I've heard about it. I haven't read a ton in the synopsis because this was not a book that I would have picked up on my own. I'm not usually into this sort of thing, but I'll be interested to give this a try. I know that Kayla from Books and Lala really liked this. One of my mutuals tweeted about this and said they didn't like it, and you know, this whole video was inspired by that, so I'm glad that this one got a lot of people saying they didn't like it because, you know, it is sort of the book that started this whole idea, so interested to see how this goes. With 6 votes is a book that I had started previously and had to put down because I was really bored, and it is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. This is a Russian-inspired fantasy that has been compared a ton to the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I know that the author has kind of been in some controversies recently. She is a big Raylo shipper and has some other, like, I guess problematic tropes that she supports. I don't know much about it. I haven't really done a lot of my research. I don't follow her on Twitter, but interested to read this, tentatively excited. I'm not a huge Grisha trilogy fan. I don't hate it, but it's not like my favorite series ever. I was bored in the first 11 chapters that I read of this, but I'll be interested to give this a try and see why you guys thought it was so disappointing. With a total of 5 votes, we have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I read An Enchantment of Ravens earlier this year for a taste test that I did for Reagan from Peruse Project, and I really enjoyed that book. That was one that I know a lot of people were disappointed in, and I really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping that since I liked that book and it wasn't a disappointment to me, that this one also won't be a disappointment since I know that I like this author's work. But second time's a charm, hopefully. Like, we'll see. I don't know. Tentatively excited. This book, from reading the synopsis, reminds me a lot of Clockwork Angel and the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. It is about an enchanted library, and it seems like it's got sort of an atmospheric Victorian England type setting, even though I don't think it's set in any one particular geographic or like historical location. Excited to give this one a try. This isn't something I would usually pick up, primarily because I don't love books about books or books about libraries, but this will be interesting. I know that there are some characters that a lot of my friends really like in this, so I'll be interested to give this one a go. Another book with 5 votes is Wicked Fox, which I don't think you can actually see the title, but I'll throw the cover up right here. Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is a, I think, kind of like K-pop, K-drama inspired story set in Seoul, Korea. I don't know much about it. This is not a book I would have picked up on my own. I did have it on my shelves though because I was a Book of the Month affiliate for like a month or so, and this was one of the selections. I don't know if I'm gonna like this or not. I've heard that it's kind of an urban fantasy setting, and it deals with like a 9-tailed fox. I'm interested in the representation and the different sort of fantasy because I've never read anything like this before, from the synopsis at least, but not super excited for this one, but I am reading it because I want to let you guys know if it is disappointing, I guess. And then lastly, with the least amount of disappointing votes, coming in at 4 votes, is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is one that I feel like I was expecting to see on this list. I'd seen a lot of people complaining that this didn't live up to the hype, wasn't as good as the first book, and I'm such a huge Carry On fan that I think I'm actually going to really enjoy this book. I am excited to give it a go, see if it is as bad or as good as people say it is. I've heard very mixed things. Excited to give this one a go, but that is it. Those are the 6 books that I'm going to be reading for this video. It's gonna be a wild ride. A lot of these, like I said, have been on my radar, are books that I was previously excited about, and then, you know, the buzz died down, some disappointing reviews came in, and I didn't think that I would get to them, but it's gonna be nice because I owned most of these books prior to the start of this video, so I'll be able to kind of get my backlist looking a little cleaner and fresher after finishing these. So without further ado, let's get into the vlog portion of this video. It is Monday, March 3rd, and I am officially starting to read you guys' most disappointing reads. Technically I started yesterday, but I'm really getting into it today. This is gonna be kind of a weirder video than my other ones. Not weirder, but like I usually will try to read most of the books for the video that I'm posting like that following week. This one, I'm just kind of reading these books when I can because this is getting posted at the end of the month. So anyway, no one cared, but I just figured I'd share that with you guys. I'm also probably going to put like the date down here so you guys can kind of see as I'm reading these books how long it's taking me to actually get through them. But I decided to pick the one that I was most intrigued about first. I started Serpent and Dove last night, and all I gotta say is wee motherfucking baguette, right? Like, this is such a blatant ripoff of like France during the time of Louis the whatever the fuck, and I'm actually not hating it. I got an arc of this back before it came out, and I tried to read it then, and I just wasn't really into it. The intro was a little bit confusing for me. There were too many characters right in the first chapter, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? But I got through, chapters aren't numbered, which is really irritating, but I'm on page 56, and I can't stop thinking about this book. Like, when I was at work, I usually listen to audiobooks, and I was like, damn, I wish I had an audio of this so I could listen to it while I work because I'm intrigued. I'm not saying this is a good book. I mean, I'm not that far into it. I can't really like judge the goodness of it, but I am intrigued. I can already see issues with it though. So if you didn't know, this story is about a girl named Lou who has like fled her coven. She's a witch, and we don't know why she has fled her coven yet. And she's trying to find this magical ring because this ring is going to grant her the power to be kind of like invisible. So if people from her coven come back to try to find her, she will be hard to find or impossible to find. Because in this society, magic has a smell to it, and witches are really easy to sniff out, right? We also have Reed, who is our male protagonist, male love interest technically, and he is part of the, it's not supposed to be the Catholic Church, but it's basically the Catholic Church, and they witch hunt. That's sort of like their job. And they're also, it's kind of like army slash religious, and it's a kind of a weird, it's a weird thing. I can already tell that the setup for the two of them getting together is going to be weird, like some people had pointed out previously, because the guy that's like in charge of Reed, I guess like the Pope type figure, he noticed that Reed essentially got an erection when he was trying to detain a witch. And the Pope was like, you know what, like if you can't handle yourself, like we'll get you a wife. And apparently that's a shameful thing, and like you should be able to be chaste and not have to be married, but Reed might have to get married. And so I'm assuming that's going to be the setup for Reed and Lou to get together. So that's the only thing so far that seems a little off. Yeah, it's cheap. It's definitely cheap, but I don't hate the characters so far. We haven't gotten to know Reed very much. I mean, granted, we're 56 pages into this book, but I'm interested to see where things go. I don't really like magical artifact setups for books, which sounds very specific, but it seems to be happening in a lot of the books that I've been reading lately. Like The Last Magician had that. It was like a magical book that they had to like steal. I think it might come down to the fact that I don't like heist novels, but I hope that they get the ring quickly and that things develop into something else, which I think is going to be the case, but I guess we shall see as things go along. I also think it's going to be interesting to see how like religion and magic sort of play off of each other, and I guess like they're diametrically opposed in this, but you know, I'm intrigued. I think I went into this one, I mean, I'm going into all of these books with fairly low expectations. I think about half of these I was previously interested in reading, and then I got bad reviews and I was like, am I gonna read these? Like, I'm still intrigued. Am I going to be in the camp that gives this book 5 stars or the one that like hates all of these books? I don't know. I think it's gonna be a mixed bag. I'm like honestly kind of like excited but worried, but I think this is gonna be fun because these are a lot of like backlist 2019 books that I don't know that I would have gotten to had it not been for this video. So how delightful and poetic is that? I'll update you guys as I read. I had to come home early from work because we got our AC fixed, so I'm working from home, which means I'm probably gonna read a little bit of this right now, and I'll keep you guys posted as things heat up because Reed seems horny. I'm supposed to be reading a book for a different video, but I decided I was going to try to finish this instead today because at least this is keeping me entertained. I am 188 pages into this book, and between the male protagonist popping a chub for a pregnant woman and the really, really poor French, it's not a good book, but like I am not hating it. Although I don't really understand where the plot's going. It's like, I thought Lou was going to steal this ring and then we would get some semblance of like plot from there. Like she'd be punished for it or something would happen because of this ring. But the only thing that's happened is that she has married Reed for reasons that I don't want to spoil, and that's pretty much it. She keeps disobeying him. There's this ongoing, I guess, pseudo-feminist bullshit about how she doesn't need to obey him and all, whatever. It's weird because like I said, I am not hating this. It's fast-paced. I like that this book is squatty and I like that the font's big, and I really think that it's not going to be much of a slog to get through these next 300 pages today. But it's weird. Understand why people would be disappointed by this book. It's just strange. I think the inclusion of French and French culture or attempts to kind of harken back to French history is weird because it's clear that, I don't want to say she was too lazy to do the research to make it truly French, but that's sort of what's happening here. And I also feel like the use of language is very odd. The curse words that she uses are very modern, but the speech is sort of antiquated. And obviously, I mean, it's pseudo-historical with like the dress and just like the time period you can tell that she's trying to steal from. And I have to say, I'm kind of irritated by the over-the-topness of both of the characters. It's like people can be multifaceted, and I just don't think that that's going to happen here. I would hope that Reed undergoes some sort of character transformation and is okay with witches, but I don't think that's going to happen. He is just very staunchly, I don't want to say conservative because this is a fantasy book, but basically, you know, he's very prim and proper. And Lou, on the other hand, is very bawdy, B-A-W-D-Y, not B-O-D-Y. So over the top. It's like the only way she can react to things is by being forward sexually. I don't know. I just feel like she needs some new tricks in her arsenal because I'm just kind of like, I'm gonna continue reading. I mean, I'm liking it, but it's like... Okay, I'm calling it right now that Reed is a male witch, or that he is descended of witches because he's obviously an orphan, and there's, I mean, why the fuck would they make it a point to point out that witches can reproduce, but we've never encountered a male witch? That's because there are none. Magic passes only to females. The males are sent away after they're born. And we know that Reed is an orphan. That seems a little bit obvious, but I think what's going to happen is that he is going to have powers that are going to be witchy. He's going to be like the first male witch, and it's going to make things complicated. That is going to be where this book ends on a cliffhanger. I can feel it in my bones. All of that to say, I have gotten not that much farther, I think, since we last talked. I just wanted to like pop in to say that, and that's my prediction. But one thing that I was thinking about that I don't want to forget is that the dual POV is kind of unnecessary, and to be honest, it's kind of confusing because neither of the characters have very distinct voices besides in dialogue to warrant having two POVs. I think it could have been a really cool idea to have two POVs to really show the romantic relationship development, hi Nugget, and to easily get us to understand why they would want to be together. But unfortunately, I just don't feel like that's the case. I don't think we're getting enough inner dialogue and like inner thoughts of either of the characters for the two POVs to be warranted, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I feel like I'm bitching a lot about this book. I'm not unhappy with it. It's not terrible. If I had to rate it right now, I think I would give it a 3 because it's not abhorrent. It's not a terrible plot line. If it were written differently, I think I would really, really enjoy it. The plot's interesting enough, but I think some of the choices that Shelby Marin made were not necessarily the best choices. I think, is this her debut? Yes, this is her debut. So I'd be interested to read other books that she comes out with in the future, but I don't know that this is going to be like my favorite of her books. It's interesting. I don't know. I understand why people like it, but I'm just like, whatever. I'll update you guys when I'm done, but that's sort of my thoughts as I'm reaching kind of the climax of the plot, if you can call it that, because there's not much of a plot right now. But anyway, I just finished this book, and I'm just gonna put spoiler warning right here so I can tell you whether or not my prediction was right or wrong. I was right, as I often am when I read predictable as fuck books. Reed is indeed a witch, and things happened at the end of this book. I don't want to spoil too much of it. I'm actually gonna take the spoiler warning off now because, you know, I don't need to really like go into the details. The last 100 pages of this book were hands down the most interesting, and I think this book could have been a 300-page book and been very, very interesting had some better choices been made. I swear to God, this whole like quarantine season has really gotten me to think about what is effective in books and what isn't. I mean, obviously that's like kind of the whole point of what I do on YouTube, right? But like to an extent where I feel like I could write my own fucking book, right? Everything I said previously stands. I wish the relationship building had been more effective. it's like you had all of the pieces together and you didn't know how to like make the puzzle, you know? You have the dual POV that could have been used more effectively. You had tension that you could have built between two characters who were supposed to be enemies. You could have done so much to make the plot interesting and you didn't. And it's like,
you did this for what?
I don't know. I'm honestly like, I'm at a loss because I know what I wanted this book to be and it just didn't execute. And I'm just like, step your pussy up, you know? This wasn't terrible. I think it was a fine debut. I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I wanted so much more. I didn't care about the romantic relationship again until those last 100 pages. All of the development that happened at the beginning of the book for those first 400 pages, I didn't care about the relationship. I only cared in the last 100 pages, and that's not effective. Like, the characters have already fucking slept together and I don't care about them, you know? Like, that's not great. I wish she would have just gone for a classic enemies to lovers situation. This wasn't enemies to lovers in my opinion. It was just like misunderstanding each other to lovers, because I'm gonna have to put another spoiler warning to really talk about it. Reed didn't know that Lou was a witch. I mean, that's actually not a spoiler. I'm gonna take the spoiler warning away. He didn't know she was a witch the whole time. I think it would have been a more effective enemies to lovers situation had he known that she was a witch. Also having to like keep the secret from like the archbishop and everybody around him to protect her, like, I think that could have been an interesting play, you know what I mean? Like having it be truly enemies to lovers. Instead, it was just this shitty banter and Lou trying to be like sexually, not provocative, but I mean, she was just like very forward and annoying. That was like her only trait. For so much dialogue to happen and for the characters to not have any real like, say what you want about Sarah J Maas, but she knows how to build a relationship. Whether you like it or not is up to you, but she knows how to build something. There was nothing built here. So anyway, this really does live up to the disappointing title, so I'm glad that I read this. I was very interested in this book and probably would not have picked it up if it weren't for this video, so like, I'm glad that I picked it up. Anyway, I've talked about this book entirely too long. Let's move on to the next book. I think I'm gonna pick up Wicked Fox because I have the audiobook and I'm hoping that that one really surprises me, because that one I wasn't interested in really from the beginning, but maybe it'll surprise me. Maybe it will be that bitch. Okay, so I am 50% into Wicked Fox. Wow, you can't even tell that that's what this is because I take the dust jackets off all my books, but I understand why people don't like this book. It's not bad, but I think the cover and the description were a bit deceptive. I mean, obviously the whole idea of Gumiho, pretty violent, but I just expected this to be a lighter and like more K-drama inspired book. I mean, that's kind of what I was led to believe from the marketing, I think, and it's definitely not that. It's definitely an urban fantasy, paranormal fantasy, and it has a grittier feel to it, which I wish I would have known going in, because then I could have maybe adjusted my expectations a bit, but it's just a little depressing. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I wanted this to be fun and lighthearted. That's kind of what I wanted right now since we're in quarantine, but this is not that. It's actually quite sad. Both of our main characters have quite a bit of trauma to deal with, and that's definitely reflected by their actions and the way that they behave. So I think our main characters are Mi-young and Ji-hoon. Yes, Ji-hoon's the dude, Mi-young's the girl. The girl, her mom, she seems like low-key abusive. She obviously doesn't care much about her daughter. I mean, she does things under the guise of caring for her daughter, and she doesn't seem to care much about her daughter's happiness, so that's a little worrisome and not fun to read about. And then Ji-hoon's mom basically abandoned him as a child, and we get insight into that abandonment. We actually get to see scenes from that, and so now he lives with his grandmother, who's great, but I don't know, I was expecting this to be a little bit more upbeat, and I think my issue too is the fact that there's not a whole lot of plot happening. So at the beginning of the book, we get to see Mi-young like taking life force from a man, because that's what Gumiho, like the nine-tailed fox, they do. That's how they like survive. So we see her taking life force from a man, and then right after she does so, she ends up running into a boy. She ends up saving his life instead of taking it. Now they're kind of friends, and he knows what she is, and she's still trying to kind of keep her identity from other people, because that's the whole point, right? But I don't know where the plot's going. It's not like, it doesn't seem like there's a mission that these two are on, really. I mean, there's been hints at like certain things. I don't know where things are going. That's where I'm gonna leave this at. So I don't know. If I had to rate it right now, I think I would probably give it like 2.5 or 3 stars, because I'm not that invested in these characters, and the plot just really isn't going anywhere, and it's sad. So I don't know. It's objectively not poorly written, and I think if you know going in what it's about, you really want good, I'm assuming, Korean representation, this might be a great book for you. I just don't know. I'm not loving it. I think the setting's really cool. That's the one thing I will say, but it's not what I expected, so we'll see. So I finished Wicked Fox. I don't know what to say. I think all of my points previously stand. I think my main issue, I was able to overlook some of the things that I was having issues with at the beginning, but I think overall my issue is that the plot is just not tight enough. So many different things happened over the course of the book that I felt like I was reading multiple different books. Like this should have been a TV show or something. Like it felt very episodic. It did not feel cohesive, which was my main concern. It made it very hard to be invested in what was happening because you didn't know what was going to happen next, and not in a fun like plot twisty sort of way. It was like the author didn't know where she wanted to take things, and that kind of hindered my enjoyment of it. And like I said previously, I just didn't like the character relationships. I did not like our main character's romantic relationship. I didn't like Mi Young's relationship with Mom. Yeah, I understand why this is a disappointing read for a lot of people. I think it was really just a case of the marketing being so strong for this book and it not reflecting the way that it was marketed. Like the synopsis and just the tone so different from marketing to book. Anyway, I think I'm gonna leave it with 3 stars. It really was not the worst thing that I've ever read. I think a lot of people will probably enjoy this. Again, if you know what you're getting before you go into it, I think you might enjoy this, but I just, it's just not a story for me. YA fantasy is pretty hit or miss with me, and urban fantasy / paranormal is really hit or miss for me in YA, so it kind of makes sense that this was just like a middle of the road read for me. But now I think I'm gonna move on to Wicked Saints by Emily Duncan, is that her name? A little bit worried about this. This was one I can understand why people were disappointed in because again, the marketing was really strong for it. I know a lot of people were drawing comparisons between this book and like Star Wars and I think like the Darkling Alina relationship. So I think having those sorts of comparisons can really get people disappointed if the book isn't quite as great. And I also feel like there was a lot of controversy surrounding this author and some of the things that she was tweeting after her book came out. Interested to see how I feel about this. I'm a little unsure, to be honest, but I'm hoping I enjoy it. I do have the audiobook in case I get bored with the physical book, but I think I am going to try to read this one physically. I got 11 chapters into it the last time I tried to read it and I did set it down. So I don't really have high hopes for this one, but I'm hoping it surprises me. I know some of my friends have really enjoyed it, so I'm hoping it surprises me. Okay, so I'm like 30% into Wicked Saints. I don't hate it. I do hate the audiobook. Would not recommend the audiobook. Russian accents, terrible. But beyond that, let's talk about the plot because I don't know what the fuck's going on, and I don't know if I'm just stupid, which is probably the case, or if this book is just kind of confusing. I will say, I think if you enjoy Shadow and Bone and you liked that trilogy but you felt like the court politics were a little bit lacking, you might like this because honestly, again, maybe I'm just dumb and not listening well enough. My reading comprehension or listening comprehension might not be that great, but it feels kind of sophisticated. It feels a little bit more like an adult fantasy in the intricacies than it does a young adult fantasy, so I guess that's pretty cool. I don't know that I like any of the characters or the romantic relationships, and I don't know that I like love the book so far because I'm not that far and I kind of don't know what the fuck's going on, but I'll try to kind of sum it up for you guys. It is about a girl named, I don't know, I gotta look this up. Nadia, okay. She has the gift of magic from the gods. She has these little like prayer beads. She holds on to the bead and she can kind of commune with the gods, get powers from each of the gods. If she's in their favor, she gets their powers. Her people are fighting against people who use blood magic. Essentially what they do is they like open up these little spell books and cut their wrists open, or like, I don't know, some literal blood is involved, and they use this page of a spell book to do some spells. Like one page can do one spell and then the page can't be used again. I don't know why I'm trying to get into the intricacies because it's not that important, but anyway, warring magics, warring kingdoms. Apparently the blood magic people are winning over the magic from the gods people. And Nadia ends up having to run away because she's getting attacked. Like her whole monastery, I guess, is being attacked by these people who have blood magic. It happens to be the prince of the warring kingdom. Nadia, on her way out, runs into this guy who I don't honestly really understand like what he's coming from. Malachias, I think that's his name, Malachias. Seraphin is the prince. Malachias is the guy that she's kind of running away with. I think that's kind of like the Mal character. I don't know. I'm trying to draw parallels to Shadow and Bone because I know that's what Emily A. Duncan was inspired by. So I'm trying to do these equations in my head. So anyway, it's like Nadia and Malachias have this sort of like romantic relationship that's already developing 30% in that I like literally don't give a shit about. I don't know. I'm very all over the place with this. Wow. I don't know what's up, but hey, at least my energy's up compared to the rest of these clips, right? You gotta appreciate that. So my thing is like, I don't really understand who Malachius is or like what he's doing. I think might be a vulture, and that's the confusing thing too. It's like you've got these two warring nations, but there's also these kind of random people who are in leagues with the blood magic people called vultures, and I don't know what the fuck they do, but they just like, they're evil. And I think Malachius is a vulture and he's running away from the vultures, but I could be wrong because I don't really understand what's going on. But like I said, not really convinced of the romantic relationship. Kind of don't care what happens to any of these characters. I'm trying to stay attentive as I listen, so maybe I can like start picking up on things a little bit more, but it's just not going well. But I also know that if I put down the audiobook and try to pick up the physical book, probably not going to finish. So sort of where we're at. The audiobook's due in a few hours, so I have to finish this tonight. Okay, we're not jumping up there right now, okay? Sorry, this is definitely the most incoherent clip in this entire vlog, but I'll keep you guys posted. I probably won't keep you posted until I'm finished with this book because I'm gonna take a bath while I listen to this audiobook. You know that tweet that's like, I love her lack of energy, go girl, give us nothing? That's this book. I'd like to talk with Emily A. Duncan. Her Raylo is showing, her completely ripping off the Shadow and Bone trilogy is showing. How is it possible for Nadia to be a dumb bitch for 385 pages and like not develop as a character at all? It's sort of impressive, honestly. The unfortunate thing is I can't really talk about the plot of this book without spoiling absolutely everything, but let me tell you, it all kind of hinges on our main character being super naive and stupid. That's not a recipe for me enjoying a book. I really am over like the super naive idiot fucking female protagonist in YA, and I know that she's young and I know that like, you know, young people are stupid sometimes, but I just don't like my main characters to be like that, and I pretty much never have. I would rather, even when I was younger, my main characters be like, I'd rather question whether or not they're young adults rather than questioning why someone's being so fucking stupid. I mean, sometimes I can forgive it, but most of the time I'm just like irritated. So disappointing, yes. Would I recommend it? I think if you like Russian inspired fantasy and you enjoyed the Shadow and Bone trilogy and you're literally looking for something similar but not as good, perhaps this might be for you. It's definitely heavier on the romance. It has, I guess, similar levels of sexual tension, so like if you're into that, you might enjoy this book. I did not enjoy this book. I think what I'm gonna say is that it's probably the fact that I didn't care about any of the characters and nothing really happened. Wish I could be more articulate about this book. Unfortunately, like I said, it's just like trying to explain any of it is going to be confusing or spoil the book because there are so many reveals, I guess, throughout the book that I can't like tell you something concretely that doesn't change later on. Glad to be done with this. This was disappointing. I think out of the 3 books that I've read so far, this is my least favorite, and I think I'm gonna give this one 2 stars. So Serpent and Dove was 3 stars. Wicked Fox, 3 stars, I think. Is that what I gave that book? I don't remember. This is definitely a 2-star read, just not for me. I definitely won't continue on with the series. Wicked Fox, I won't carry on with the sequel for that, and this one, it's a no. It's just no. So let me tell you what I did start and am enjoying. I have indeed started enjoying one of y'all's most disappointing books. I picked up Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson, and first of all, can I just say, it's a little fucked up how nobody told me that this was like a less melodramatic version of Clockwork Angel and or the entire Infernal Devices series, because it's got such similar vibes. I don't know if this is set in any particular location. I don't think it is, but it definitely gives you those kind of like London, Victorian England vibes, and it's so charming. Our main character reminds me a lot of Will, not our like main character, but the love interest reminds me a lot of Will. And then our main character, who I literally can't remember the name of because I'm listening to this on audio and not really paying attention to her name. Scrivener? Is her name Elizabeth? She's really cute. She definitely gives me Tessa but less annoying vibes, so I can't be mad at it. Like, it's pretty enjoyable. The entire book, I say entire book, I'm not that far into it, but the premise of this book is that there are grimoires and there are librarians who basically keep the grimoires and make sure that they're safe, because grimoires kind of have a life of their own. Each book is imbued with different powers, obviously, and it's like bound to demonic energy, and sometimes they can like influence you to do things. And Elizabeth wants to basically become keeper of these grimoires. A series of unfortunate events unfold, and she ends up having to get in leagues with a guy who uses the magic of the grimoires. I can't remember what they call them. Magisters? Something? I am at a loss for words today. Whatever people that wield magic are, I'll put the thing right here, you know what I mean, the name of what this guy is, what he can do. They are also in leagues with demons, not only in the books, but like they have to kind of bind themselves to a demon to be able to perform magic. So anyway, it's an interesting concept, and the whole like binding to demons things kind of reminds me of Will's situation in the first Infernal Devices book. So anyway, it's cute. I like it. I like the banter, even though it's dealing with like darker topics, I guess, with like demonic energies. It feels very lighthearted because of the banter between the two characters. I'm liking it. I think it's cute. I understand why people like this, and I don't understand why people are disappointed by it, because it definitely feels like Margaret Rogerson's writing. Didn't like her first book. I kind of don't think you would like this one, but also like it's fun. Okay, so I finished Sorcery of Thorns, and she is indeed that bitch. This book was so good. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Sorry for not updating you guys more. I listened to this on audio as I was playing Animal Crossing, so I feel like I didn't have super relevant things to say until I actually finished the book, but it was really, really good. It was just a really fun story. I loved the amount of adventure and storytelling that really happened. Constant movement, constant action. If you like a really action-heavy story with a lot of plot and a lot of world building that doesn't feel info dumpy, I think you're gonna love this book. I'm surprised that I liked it so much, mostly because I don't really like stories set in libraries. I don't really like books about books, but this one really took me by surprise, and I really, really liked it. I also fell for my demon daddy Silas like so hard. He was such a sweetie. At least I think that's what his name was. I don't know, I'm second guessing everything, but I really, 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 really liked this book. And I gotta say, I don't know why people were disappointed by it. Everything was super cute. I think even if you haven't read An Enchantment of Ravens and you didn't know Margaret Rogerson's writing style and her penchant for doing standalones rather than series, I think you're really gonna like this. I mean, it's everything that I would want from a fantasy. It's very low involvement, if that makes sense. You don't have to read like 15 books to get attached to the characters. You can get attached to them very quickly, and then at the end, you're done, and it's great. I sometimes like that. I think series are really great, but I think that's become the standard in young adult, mostly because series sell very well. Reading something unique and different and that can successfully accomplish in one book what some authors can't accomplish in 3 books, like Margaret Rogerson, hats off to you, bitch. Like, amazing. Probably shouldn't have called you a bitch, but I have since started Wayward Son, and we can talk about that for a second. I have not gotten very far, but it has such a weird tone, which is what we can talk about, because I don't know what I was expecting from this book. I'm listening to it on audio. I did end up using my Audible credit to get Wayward Son. I did listen to the sample, and it was really, really good, so I figured, fuck it, let's do it, even though I have the physical copy of the book. It's just got such a weird tone. The chapters from the side bitch's point of view are super, super irritating. I literally can't— is it Angela? Ingrid? Something like that. I don't know. Whatever Snow's ex is, whatever her name is, I don't like her chapters. I think her point of view is irritating, and it's like, I don't know who the audience is for this book. It's like not really young adult, but it's not really adult either, but some of the themes explored are. Our characters are almost 21, so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this. I'm trying to withhold judgment. I'm not that far. I'm only like, I don't know, an hour into the 9-hour audiobook, so I don't want to like say that I hate this or anything so far, but it's weird. And I feel like I needed to say that. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to reading. I'll probably update you guys when I'm like halfway done with this book. That way I can kind of give you more cogent analysis on the plot. But that's it. I'm gonna go eat, play Animal Crossing, listen to this audiobook. Okay, first of all, can we talk about how fucking cute they are? I'm gonna cry. Like, their little toes. Oh my goodness. Hi. All right. I didn't think I would be doing this, but pardon my French. What the fuck is the point of this book? Truly. I'm loving the audiobook. The narrator does an excellent job at doing different voices for each of our main characters, but that's pretty much all the good that I can say about this book. The plot, what is it? Is this just supposed to be fan service? Is it supposed to carry on a story? Like, I literally don't understand the point of this book. I'm so frustrated. I wanted to love this. All of the complaints that I read were mostly that it's annoying that Simon's depressed the whole time, and I was like, I like a good depression story, you know? Relatable. That's not really what I'm getting here. I'm not saying it's not a depression story, but really with the— okay, let's talk about it. Let me try to break the plot down of this book. Thus far, what has happened is Simon, Baz, and the friend, who I can't remember the name of, they're on a road trip together for no fucking reason. They go to America, and it's very unclear as to why they're going. To see Agatha, I guess, to see Micah, is that his name? Her name is Agatha. I did remember that. Like, I am honestly trying so hard right now to be calm, cool, and collected and to be able to tell you guys what the plot of this book is, but there is not a plot. Nothing is really happening. All of our characters have had a run-in with like various people who are figuring out what magic is, because magic is treated differently in the US. Like there are magicians or whatever, mages. I don't know what the fuck they call themselves. I think it's magicians, mages, whatever. I don't know. There's a side character, Shepherd, I think is his name, who's completely fucking irrelevant and you can tell is adding nothing to the story. I get the storyline boring as fuck. Literally what is the point of this book? Even if there is a culmination of plot, even if there's a climax, even if there's a satisfying conclusion, this book was unnecessary, and that makes me really disappointed to say, because I think this could have been an interesting exploration into the psyche of Simon and Baz and kind of their relationship. I appreciate what Rainbow Rowell is able to do with emotion. I think she does a fantastic job at making her characters very real and relatable, regardless of if it's a regular contemporary or contemporary like fantasy like this, but it's not enough to make this plot work. The first book worked so well because it was such a subversion of the tropes of Harry Potter and the Chosen One trope. I loved that. I loved that so much. This book just doesn't know what it wants to be. I feel like it could have, like I said, been a very cool way of showing like what happens after the big showdown. But I don't think a US road trip with no real purpose is the way to go. I wish it would have been kind of more of a meta road trip, if that makes sense. Like you're going on this road trip and they're kind of like finding themselves, and maybe they have some mishaps along the way, but they're trying to like figure out what they want from their lives. Like I wanted that to kind of be what's happening. And I guess you could argue that that is what's happening, but it doesn't feel like it. I'm just so not loving this. Every book, I'm looking at my current rankings, besides Sorcery of Thorns, all of like the curve of my enjoyment of these books is it's like this. It's like good-ish, bad, really good, bad. I'm not having a good time. I'm straight up not having a good time. But I only have an hour, 3 hours, but like I listen on 3 times speed to this audiobook. So I'm gonna power through that so I can move on to Wilder Girls. So I finished it. I didn't hate every second of it, but I hated most of the seconds of it. Ugh. I'm so frustrated. The ending was clearly a setup for a 3rd book, which is interesting because I don't think that it was Rainbow Rowell's intention to make this a 3-book series. So I'm just like, what's the fucking point? Goddamn, I really didn't like this. I didn't enjoy the lack of character development in this book. I didn't enjoy the lack of relationship building between Simon and Baz. I thought something at least would happen. Nothing really happens. Penelope is irritating to me. Agatha also irritating, which sounds like I hate women. I don't. I just hate the women in this book. Okay, that's dramatic. I don't hate them. I'm just irritated by them and their actions. Agatha's whole storyline was fucking stupid. I am understanding that while I'm much more of a character-driven reader, I need a very coherent, cogent plot. It needs to be pretty clear from the beginning of the book what the fuck's gonna happen, and twists and whatever, those are fine, but I don't like when the author seems to decide midway through writing a book what the plot should be. That's kind of how it felt in this book. It was like, let's make these characters go on a road trip, and then halfway through it's like, oh, okay, here's some random fucking shit that's gonna happen. I shouldn't be this upset, but this is hands down the most disappointing book that I've read for this entire video, which is so interesting because it was the one that was, I won't say voted on the least because no one really voted, but you know what I mean? Like it had only 4 people said it was their most disappointing book, whereas Serpent and Dove had 9 votes, or 9 people say that. This is a 2-star read for me, which I hate saying because I really like Rainbow Rowell's books. I think this is probably my least favorite. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna wait until the end to do rankings of these books, and I think I'm gonna do superlatives too because I just feel like that'd be fun and zesty, right? So I'm gonna withhold that because I'm really unsure at this point whether I dislike it more than Wicked Saints. I think they're on equal footing because Wicked Saints I didn't at least have any expectations for. I don't know, man. That was rough stuff. So glad to be done with that. Let's move right along because we don't have that much time left. I think, what time is it? Let's see. I can't find my phone. I think it's like 8 o'clock. Anyway, let's move into the last book, which is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. I think I'll be able to fly through this because God bless America, the font in this book is massive and it's a tiny like book this way, and I think it's only like 350 pages. Yeah, so I should be able to knock this out in like 3 hours, I'm hoping. I think I can knock this out in 3 hours. We'll see. I am hesitant because that last book sucked so bad and I hope this one doesn't suck so bad, but also I don't like body horror. That's like a really big no for me, but maybe this will just knock my fucking socks off. Fingers crossed. Okay, so I am 50% into Wilder Girls, and I'm gonna give you a second to think about how you think that I feel about this. Do you think I'm enjoying this? Do you think I'm hating it? I'll give you a second and then I'll let you know. I'm really enjoying this book. I did not anticipate it at all. This was the one that I was probably the most scared about. This is the one that inspired this whole video in the first place, and it was one that I didn't think that I was ever going to pick up, but it's really good, and I'm enjoying the way that this story is told. Although I have to say, if you are not having a good time during this quarantine or self-isolation or whatever you want to call it, do not pick this book up, because this heavily deals with a similar situation, not in the fact that we are getting horrible like body horror type symptoms from COVID-19, but there's definitely a quarantine situation. So the plot of this book is that there are these girls on this island, and they are, I think it's a boarding school essentially. We are taken into them about a year and a half into this toxin, or tox they call it, that has kind of plagued the island. So all of the girls are developing these horrible like sores, gills, scales, all kinds of random like gross symptoms that they have flare-ups of every season, I guess. Girls are kind of dying off one by one, and no one really knows what's wrong. They are quarantined on this island, no one can get in or out, and they're just all kind of suffering and just waiting to die. So yeah, definitely don't read this if you are someone who's not having a great time right now, because I don't think that this is a lighthearted read. But I like that we are in the thick of it. I like that we don't get to see the progression of the disease from like the very beginning and what that was like. And I also like that our main character Hetty is trying to figure out what's happening, because she's noticing that some things are not what they seem on this island. There's three main characters, I guess: Hetty, Byatt, and Reese. Byatt goes missing, and now we're kind of getting her point of view and what's happening to her. So we're getting a lot of different things going on, and what I've heard most often about this book is that the ending is quite unsatisfying, and I think in my head I know what's going to happen, and I don't think I would be upset at that potential ending that I'm thinking about in my head. I'll just let you know, I think that we're not going to figure out what is happening to these girls. I don't think that there's going to be some satisfying cure. I think it's just going to be inconclusive, and I'm not upset about that. It sounds kind of interesting. I'm having a good time reading this. I've got my lo-fi, hip-hop, chill, steady beats to whatever to going while I listen to this, and I kind of selected like a sort of spooky lo-fi playlist, so it's fitting the atmosphere of this book quite well. And I'm literally flying through this. I've been reading for like an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm 180 pages in, so I should be able to finish this, I would think, in the next hour or so, which is great because it gives me plenty of time to edit this vlog. I usually edit as I go, but I have not edited this one as I go, and this is longer than an hour, so pray for me. What if this is a 5-star read for me? What if? Stranger things have happened. I really need that redemption too after reading Wayward Son and fucking loathing it. Anyway, I've been talking too long. I'm gonna get back to reading, and I'll update you guys when I'm done, and then we'll be done with this video. Okay, hopefully my AC doesn't turn back on while I'm trying to tell you how I felt about this book, but this has been a wild ride of a day because I gave Wayward Son, a book I thought I was going to enjoy, 2 stars, and then I'm giving this book 5 stars. So it's been an unexpected day. So unexpected. So pleased though that I enjoyed this. I'm gonna put a spoiler warning, although I'm not really gonna be too spoilery. I was correct about the ending. You don't really know what's gonna happen. You can kind of interpret it however you want, but I definitely feel like our main character is gonna go apeshit. Not apeshit, but like I think she's gonna kill her friends. So that's fun. I loved everything about this. I wish I could articulate why. I guess it was just the perfect mood. And I'm the kind of person that, like, if there's a shitty situation going on, I like to immerse myself in media that sort of mimics that. So I guess this was literally the perfect time for me to read this, since, you know, we're in our own quarantine situation. But I like seeing people's base natures, and I don't know. I liked it. I didn't think the body horror was too much either, so I appreciated that. It was just the right amount of gory, and to be honest, it kind of makes me want to read horror. I know this isn't like true horror, but now I want to read some horror. I don't know, this was so good. I don't understand how people could be disappointed unless you're the kind of person that wants a really nice resolution. I don't understand how this could be disappointing. I guess if you wanted some cure to be found and these girls to like get to the bottom of what's happening, then maybe this could have been disappointing, but there is enough, I think, of an explanation for it to be a satisfying ending. I like endings that are open-ended in this way, and it depends on the genre of book, but this was the perfect ending for this particular book. I thought it was perfect. 5 fucking stars. I didn't think that I would have. Y'all lied to me. Y'all fucking lied. I'm so pleased. Okay, but that's it. Wow, I've read all of the books for this video. Incredible. As you know, I started on March 3rd. It's March 28th, and yeah, it took me a month to get through all these books, but I'm really glad that I did. Tomorrow, I will wrap it all up for you with my rankings of like best to worst, and then I'll do superlatives for each of these books because I think that would be so fun. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. So we've reached the end of the road, me mentally and you physically, because this is the end of the video. But before we go, I thought I would wrap things up, tell you guys what books I liked the most, what I liked the least, and give you some superlatives because I thought that would be fun. So obviously, as you guys saw in the last clip, my most favorite book in this video was Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This was one that I didn't anticipate liking quite this much, although I have to say I'm not entirely surprised. I think Kayla from Books and Lola, we tend to have a similar taste in like the weirder spectrum of books. So knowing that she liked it, I kind of went in with an open mind, even though I knew so many people didn't like this. But yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. Definitely my favorite book that I read in this video. And honestly, I don't know how the rest of the year is going to go, but I could see this winding up on my favorite books of 2020. So not mad at it. Another book that I thoroughly enjoyed was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This was a 4-star read for me. I am not, again, super surprised at this one, mostly because I really enjoyed An Enchantment of Ravens. This is one that I just don't understand why it was on the list. I think if you've never read Margaret Rogerson's books before and didn't really know how she wrote her standalones, maybe I could see how you could be disappointed by this, but it was really well executed and I enjoyed it, so I'm glad I read this book. Now we get into territory of I really don't know how I feel about these books. Serpent and Dove is the next one on this list, mostly because while this wasn't executed perfectly, I understand what this book was trying to achieve. I understand why people enjoy it, so I gave this one 3 stars, and at least it was entertaining, and this is one that I definitely understand why people enjoy, but could also see why it's disappointing. So really glad I read this because I don't know when I would have gotten to this otherwise, but sort of middle of the road. In the number 4 slot, I have Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. This is one that I didn't have any expectations for, but I also didn't thoroughly enjoy. So it's getting a 3-star, it's 4th on the list. It's just kind of whatever. And then my last 2 books, we have Wicked Saints, Wayward Son. Which do you think I liked least? It's hard to say because I dislike these for different reasons, but I think in the number 5 slot, I'm going to put Wicked Saints, primarily because I didn't have very high expectations going into this book, and while I didn't really love this book, I can understand why other people do. I can understand what this book was setting out to accomplish. It's a 2-star read, but it is going to beat out Wayward Son because Wayward Son was one that I had really anticipated enjoying, but ultimately I'm still questioning why this book was written, and I am really still pretty fucking salty about this book. So this is definitely my most disappointing read in this video. Worst book that I read in this video. This was a range of emotions, this video, let me just tell you, but anyway, 2 stars, meh, hated it. And now we can do superlatives because I think that would be fun. Coming in at most likely to end up on my least favorite books of 2020 list, we have Wayward Son, obviously. Most likely to make me not trust anyone on BookTube's opinions, Wilder Girls by Rory Power. Most likely to be loved by hoarding readers, aka the Shatter Me fandom, Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Most likely to be forgotten by the Bookternet, Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. Most likely to make you want to bone a demon and not the main love interest, Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. And most likely to win an audiobook Razzie for worst executed Russian accents, Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. So that is it. That has been my experience reading these books. I hope you guys liked my superlatives, liked my rankings, and otherwise enjoyed this video. I am planning on doing some more stuff like this. I have polled you guys quite a few times on Twitter, asking you questions about your most disappointing, favorite, etc. sort of books, so you can definitely anticipate more of this kind of thing from me. Let me know though if you guys have any zesty ideas of things you want me to poll people on for Twitter, anything similar to this that you would like to see. Also, let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you agree with my assessments, if you enjoyed some of these, hated some of these. I would love to know because I know a lot of these books are quite divisive. But anyway, that is it for me. I love you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a beautiful day, and until next time.